What's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Today it is Lazy Daze Tubby and I'm back at it again on my solo channel doing some more history reaction for you guys today, and it is some Cogito content for you, and it is their video, The History of Baghdad, the medieval world's greatest city. I've never watched anything by this content creator, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be a good video. If you haven't already, please head over to their page. The link's going to be in the description box down below. I'm looking forward to finding out what they've got in store for me today and for this reaction. If you guys are looking forward to this reaction and all future reactions, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but we are jumping straight into this one.
This is Baghdad, home to 7 million people. This sprawling urban jungle is the second largest city in the Arab world after Cairo. But between the skyscrapers and honking cars, you can see the remains of this city's magnificent medieval past. This once round city's walls crumbled long ago, but it was here 1,000 years ago that brilliant scientists, architects, writers and merchants of different races and religions made massive contributions to the knowledge of humanity. Back when Paris and London were home to just 20,000 people, over 1 million Baghdadis lived here, among canals, libraries and palm trees.
Crazy population.
So what is the history of Baghdad? What's a house of wisdom? And what does it have to do with medieval robots trying to get everyone drunk? Well, let's find out.
This is some really cool animation.
So, it's 632 CE and the Prophet Muhammad has just died. And he left behind a religion called Islam that was adopted by his people, the Arabs. Do you know what I was thinking? Do you know what we should do? Conquer everything. Oh my god, I was thinking the same thing. And well, they did. This is 11,100,000 square kilometers of land, spanning 3 continents. It's been like 90 years since Muhammad died. How do you do this? Ancient Red Bull? Is it just me? Or was that easier than you thought it was going to be? Yeah. This expansion happened under the Rashidun and then the Umayyad Caliphates. Their rulers were caliphs or successors, and the Umayyad Caliphate was based here in Damascus, Syria. But the Umayyads had some internal issues. Their caliphate excluded non-Arabs from positions of power, even if they were Muslim. Millions of Christians, Jews and non-Arab Muslims like Iranians, Egyptians and Berbers living in the massive empire's recently conquered lands were not huge fans of this policy. Spotting this weakness, Abu al-Abbas, with huge support from Iranians, destroyed the Umayyad armies, wiped out the dynasty and founded the Abbasid Caliphate in its place in 750 CE.
Okay.
The new Abbasid Caliphate needed a capital away from Arabia and Syria and closer to where its power base was, Iran. The second Abbasid Caliph, Al-Mansur, located a strategic spot in Mesopotamia that already had a small market town called Souk Baghdad. This town was ancient. It was even mentioned in documents from King Hammurabi's time, around 1750 BCE. Geographically, it was perfect, right in the middle of the trade routes between the Persian Gulf and
that is a good
Syria,
tactical
China,
spot.
and the Byzantine Empire. Plus, it was right between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Founded in 762 CE, the city went by a few names, like Mandinat al-Salam, the city of peace. But it seems like the old market town's name, Baghdad, stuck. Al-Mansur had the city built in a perfect circle, around 2.7 kilometers in diameter, protected by 3 concentric brick walls and a fancy moat. The city had 4 massive gates, from which came 4 roads. Each gate was named for the city it faced: Damascus, Basra, Kufa and Khorasan. These connected Baghdad to the world, but made it clear that this city was the symbolic center of a new world. Behind each gate were 3 arcades lined with markets acting like the arteries of the city. Between these main streets were the residential neighborhoods. At the core of the city was a huge open green space. There you could find the Caliph's palace of the Golden Gate, topped with a giant green dome, with the central mosque by its side. The city was surrounded by a network of canals, creating fertile land for agriculture. The city had thousands
and expanded
of
out from
fountains
there.
and public baths open to everyone. People would walk near the streams, spread out on the grass, and collect fruit and flowers from the stunning gardens across the city. In its large parks, you could see horse racing and polo, or, if you wanted to, you could visit the zoo, displaying lions, elephants, giraffes, and all sorts of wild animals. On the canals, dotted with palm trees, you could see thousands of gondolas dancing like sunbeams on the water, carrying the inhabitants of the city from one part of Baghdad to the other. And according to legend, the city had no mosquitoes, which is very important because 1. Mosquitoes are pure evil, and 2. Malaria, not fun.
That's
While
interesting that it had no
cool, it only lasted.
Is there any reason as to why it had no mosquitoes? I'm very interested.
For about 70 years. You see, his palace in the centre was supposed to protect the Caliph because there were hundreds of thousands of peasants between the Caliph and whoever wanted to kill him. It was like a great wall of peasants. Which is a great idea until you realise that that also meant once enemy troops took over the city, there was no way for the Caliph to escape. The Great Wall of Peasants is kind of sneaky that way. The increasingly busy and chaotic markets inside the walls seemed like a security risk, so the Caliph al-Mansur moved them outside the walls where suburbs were already growing rapidly. The round city was swallowed up by the thriving suburbs and soon vanished. Now the whole area was Baghdad. The bricks of the round city's walls were used to build this new growing Baghdad, and it became this cosmopolitan trading hub linking the east and the west. Their ships traded as far as the Baltic to Madagascar to China. Furs from Russia, African gold, Indonesian spices, Indian steel, silks from China, you could find all of it in Baghdad. They traded so widely that this bronze cross with an Arabic inscription that says Bismillah, which means in the name of God, was discovered in a bog in Ireland, which is a fair bit away from Baghdad.
Yeah,
Between
that
the years
is
900
that's
and
so
1000
crazy.
of the Common Era, the city reached 1 million inhabitants, making it the world's largest city, truly the metropolis of its time. And Baghdad peaked under the rule of its most famous caliph, Harun al-Rashid. Harun was the son of the third caliph, al-Mahdi, by one of his wives, al-Khazuran, who is a fascinating woman, by the way. Al-Khazuran was a slave given to al-Mahdi by his father. At the time, many of the concubines of nobles were well educated. Some learned writing, poetry, music, dance, history, philosophy, and science.
Yeah.
Al-Mahdi fell madly in love with Khazuran. She convinced him not only to free her from slavery, but also to make her his official wife. And she used this to build considerable power.
Interesting.
She sat with her husband at court, which was unusual at the time, and met with his ministers behind the scenes. She discussed state business with generals and foreign diplomats and managed the empire's
That's really
administration.
interesting.
She made sure her sons, Musa al-Hadi and Harun al-Rashid, were placed ahead of the caliph's other sons as heirs to the empire. She used her wealth to fund canal building in Baghdad, and it is said that a quarter of the city was named after her. She built wells and shade-giving trees along pilgrimage routes to Mecca, and on one of her own pilgrimages, she bought the house in which the Prophet Muhammad was born and turned it into a mosque. You can still go see it today, but it's a library now. Al-Mahdi died suddenly in 785 CE, which threw the empire into chaos. But Khazuran took control of the situation and secured a smooth transition of power to her older son, Musa al-Hadi.
That's good. That is all you would want as the mother of a potential heir, is for that transition to go smoothly. That's so interesting. That's so cool.
Stopped the military rebellion and had all of the military officers and court officials swear allegiance to her son, who wasn't even in Baghdad yet. And how does al-Hadi repay his mother? He gets jealous of her power, tries to push her out of political life, publicly humiliates her several times, and some sources say he even tried to have his own mother poisoned. After
What? 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 That's the woman you want next to you. Do you know what I mean? That's the woman you can trust. She's gonna look after you. Like, wow. Wow, this guy's a dickhead.
out of political life, publicly humiliates her several times, and some sources say he even tried to have his own mother poisoned. After a year of ruling, at 24 years old, Al-Hadi died of poisoning. So be nice to your mother.
Yeah.
The new
Too right.
caliph, Harun
Too right.
al-Rashid, adored his mother. When Khazuran died in November of 789, Harun helped carry her body barefoot through the mud on a rainy day as a sign of respect for the woman behind the reign of 3 caliphs.
No, that's how you treat your mother who's treated you that well. Do you know what I mean? And he's a caliph as well, so it's good to show the people that for your family you really do just need to humble yourself at times. I respect him for that. I respect the younger brother more than the older brother.
Day as a sign of respect for the woman behind the reign of 3 caliphs. During his reign, Harun fought off invasions and rebellions to maintain his empire that spanned from India to North Africa. He forced the Byzantine Empire to pay him tribute, and during his reign, wealth poured into Baghdad. He was helped by the fact that the Abbasid military made a lot of improvements on the battlefield. From little things like adopting the stirrups in cavalry which attached the rider to the horse, to the use of naphtha, a refined version of petroleum used in fire-based warfare. They developed these fire grenades called naphtha shells to throw at the enemy, and a section of the Abbasid army were called naphtha firemen, archers that specialised in flaming arrows, who, very wisely, wore fireproof suits that let them rush into the cities and castles that they had just set on fire.
Nice.
They also had a camel-based ambulance corps.
That's so intelligent and that's so cool. Let me know if you have any more information in regards to these fire guys. So they
firemen, archers that specialised in flaming arrows, who, very wisely, wore fireproof suits that let them rush into the cities and castles that they had just set on fire. They also had a camel-based ambulance corps. This line is just in here because I liked it.
Yeah, I like it as well.
Camels of the desert. The Abbasids oversaw a global network of merchants, spies, and diplomats stretching from France to China. Harun al-Rashid once sent gifts to the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. These gifts included silks, spices, books, and Abul Abbas, who was an elephant. Getting the elephant to France was probably pretty difficult, but once it arrived, Charlemagne was obsessed. Legends.
Could you imagine as a king never seeing an elephant and just getting one?
Says he took Abul Abbas to battlefields and on travels, and when Charlemagne died, his remains were wrapped in a silk with an elephant print, which is just adorable. Harun and Charlemagne sent each other a lot of gifts and bonded over their shared hatred of the Byzantine Empire. Harun actually wrote a fairly sassy letter to the Byzantine Emperor that I love. It says, "The least of the territories ruled by the least of my subjects provides a revenue larger than your whole dominion." Harun was a great patron of the arts. Under his rule, Baghdad was full of artists, scholars, and poets from 3 continents. This is how Harun al-Rashid ended up in one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time, Alf Layla wa Layla, or The 1001 Nights, or Arabian Nights. The 1001 Nights is a collection of folk stories. The story of its origins say that an Iranian king called Shahryar marries a woman and then she cheats on him, and so he murders her. He marries many more times, but he has trust issues now, and so he kills every single one of his new brides.
Whoa!
Side note, therapy did not exist yet. He then marries a woman called Shahrazad. On the first night after their marriage, she tells him a story that ends in a cliffhanger that she will only finish the next day. She does this for 1,000 nights and a night. The stories interest King Shahryar so much that he doesn't kill her, and they also make him wiser, less murdery, and make him fall deeply in love with Shahrazad. And they live happily ever after. She was fine with all of the previous murder apparently. Because Shahrazad
That's so interesting.
Tales, it was easy for anyone to add or subtract stuff.
I might research that 1001 Nights up.
To the collection. Aladdin, Sinbad the Sailor, and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves are all tales from this book that were added at a later point. Some of the major protagonists of 1001 Nights are Harun al-Rashid and his vizier Jafar. Yeah, this is the Jafar that inspired the Disney villain. The real Jafar actually came from a powerful family called the Barmakids, who were originally Buddhist from Afghanistan. Jafar convinced Harun to open the first paper-making houses in Baghdad, as the Arabs had just learned how to make paper from the Chinese, and paper was much more efficient as it was cheaper and easier to make than parchment made from animal skin, and don't even get me started on papyrus. Paper, combined with Baghdad's many different people, cultures and languages, created an intellectual revolution. Arabic was the language of the empire, but scholars in Baghdad became experts in translation. In Baghdad, you can find people reading the words of Aristotle or the Buddha, all the way to the Hindu Vedas and Zoroaster. Jews, Manichaeans, Christians, Zoroastrians, Buddhists and Hindus met and exchanged ideas. One result of this exchange was Arabic numerals, the ones that we use today, including the revolutionary number 0.
Interesting.
These originated in India, were improved on by scholars in Baghdad, and then spread from the Middle East to Europe. Baghdad was a crossroads of knowledge filled with schools and libraries, the most important of which was the House of Wisdom. We don't know much about it, but it looks like this was a combined library, academy and research institute that welcomed scholars from around the world to translate, preserve and debate their works. Under Harun's son, the Caliph al-Mamun, the House of Wisdom became the world's largest library and the most important storage site of knowledge since the Library of Alexandria, with books in Arabic, Greek, Latin, Persian, Syriac, Chinese and Sanskrit. Many ancient Greek texts only survived due to Arabic translations of them, which made their way into Europe during the Renaissance. Greek philosophy influenced the Middle East so heavily that the Arabic word for philosophy is just falsafa, which is just philosophy said differently. You can see an Arabic painting of Socrates, or in Arabic, Sokrat, teaching his students. Caliph al-Mamun paid scholars to travel abroad and bring back books. Once those books got to Baghdad, they were copied, translated and sent to other scholars across the empire. After wars, Mamun would actually demand books when negotiating peace treaties. He became so obsessed with collecting genius, he apparently offered the Byzantine emperor £2,000 of gold for a mathematician called Leo living in Constantinople. They refused the offer. If Leo had moved to Baghdad though, he would have had quite the life. One scholar, the Nestorian Christian Hunyan ibn Ashak, lived in a mansion and received a massage and manicure daily. One scholar said about Baghdad, "Nowhere in the world have I seen better financial arrangements to assist me."
Eyo, come here. Come here. Eyo.
Scholar. This thirst for knowledge sparked the Islamic Golden Age. Just a quick note about this name, it's called the Islamic Golden Age, but many Zoroastrians, Christians and Jews contributed. The Golden Age included people from Central Asia to Iberia. It was so successful because the caliphs built a multicultural empire obsessed with learning. Some scholars have actually suggested using the name Arabic Golden Age because the main language was Arabic, but it's still being debated. The House of Wisdom brought together different scientific traditions from around the world, and they saw the differences between Iranian, Indian and Greek texts, which meant they couldn't all be right. So these scholars didn't just copy and translate books, they tested them, they commented on them, and they developed new ideas around them. Like algebra, invented by Al-Khwarizmi. He combined Indian and Greek mathematical ideas and made something new, mathematics without numbers, like when you calculate with x and y.
Okay.
This completely
Yeah.
revolutionized science and made me fail maths class. It's only thanks to Khwarizmi that we can use algorithms, for example. The word algorithm is just a mangled Latinized version of Al-Khwarizmi's name, from Al-Khwarizmi to algorithmus to algorithm. Baghdad led the world in cartography and astronomy.
The more you know. I'm really enjoying this video.
Scholars in Baghdad upgraded the astrolabe, a device that measures the incline of an object and can help navigate over sea and land. An experiment funded by Caliph Mamun, which included an astronomer called Al-Farghani, calculated the circumference of the Earth to be about 38,000 kilometers, which is about 4% off the real number. Some Italian guy called Christopher Columbus actually used Al-Farghani's calculations for a voyage that he was planning, where he converted the Arabic miles incorrectly and thought the Earth was about half the size it actually was. He got very lucky that he crashed into a continent. Caliph Mamun funded the construction of the world's first scientific observatory in Baghdad, and scholars there became experts in the stars. That's why there are so many stars with Arabic names. The Big Dipper's 7 stars all have Arabic names. Over time, some star names have been Latinized, but most of these stars got their names more than 1,000 years ago. Alchemy, alkali, alcohol.
Time really breaks my mind. Over 1,000 years ago, we knew most of the stars. Think about that. Over 1,000 years ago, we knew most of the stars.
Stars got their names more than 1,000 years ago. Alchemy, alkali, alcohol, algebra, algorithm are all Arabic names. They also developed distillation, a way of separating liquids through differences in their boiling points. This meant that they could make some really strong alcohol, which wasn't banned in Islam yet, but actually the main application of distillation was to produce scents. Distilled rose water, for example, was used as perfume, especially beard perfume, but was also added to cosmetics, foods, and drinks. They also popularized hard soap and had massive soap factories. As a person has to get on packed trains regularly, I'm extremely grateful for this. Is that rose water? They perfected the distillation of crude oil into kerosene for lamps, a process without which we wouldn't have gasoline, asphalt, or plastic. We have reports from the early 13th century of Muslims paving their streets with asphalt, something that wouldn't be seen anywhere else until Paris paved their streets with asphalt in 1838.
Wow.
In 805 CE, the first general hospital opened in Baghdad. Soon there were 30 more throughout the empire. Some developments included separating wards by disease, having in-hospital pharmacies, and keeping patient medical records. They even had psychiatric wards. This was revolutionary in a time when the mental
That is all so revolutionary. That's crazy.
ill were thought to be possessed by demons in many parts of the world. These were the first modern hospitals where doctors followed the code of obligation towards their patients, regardless of their wealth, religion, or background. All doctors had to pass examinations in order to practice. These were the first medical diplomas. They also invented peer-reviewed studies, clinical trials, and testing medicine on animals before humans. These doctors invented hundreds of surgical instruments and new techniques. For example, cataracts is a condition that clouds the lenses of the eye, and it ruined many lives in the ancient world. But we have descriptions from the 10th century Islamic world of a procedure that involves sucking the cataracts out of the eye through a syringe, a procedure similar to what modern medicine used up until laser surgery took over in the late 20th century.
Interesting.
They also had these devices that boring historians called automata. But I'm no historian. Their rules don't bind me. These are robots. Super cool medieval robots. Some of these automated machines are described in an amazingly titled book called The Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. Some devices described are an automatic water and soap dispenser, a giant elephant clock, a boat with a full robot band, and a programmable flute that plays itself, which seems to be humanity's first programmable machine. They also describe a very elaborate way of playing Spin the Bottle. This multi-storied robot was a whole party in itself. It was placed in the middle of a room. The first floor had a girl pouring wine. The second floor provided the music with 4 women playing instruments. The
Okay.
third floor was the entertainment, a male dancer, and at the top was a horseman carrying a lance. He would spin round, and every 20 minutes the horseman would stop. The lucky person that ended up in front of the lance would drink the whole liter of wine that the first robot girl was pouring. This just sounds like a really fun...
The whole litre's worth of oh my god, the whole litre's worth of wine. Where's Jack when you need him? He would be bang on that, just downing it in one. Whole litre's worth of wine.
This golden age thrived for a couple of centuries, but in 1258 CE, the Mongol leader Hulagu, grandson of Genghis Khan, conquered the city. They burned it down, destroyed the House of Wisdom, massacred
What a shame, honestly, it's such a shame.
the population, and killed the caliph. Legends say that the Tigris River ran red with the blood of the city's citizens, and then afterwards it ran black with the ink of its libraries. The fall of Baghdad to the Mongols ended the Abbasid Caliphate, but Baghdad as a city still attracted scholars well into the 15 and 1600s. It never completely vanished, and so the city standing today has been occupied since at least the times of Hammurabi. Today, little of what the Abbasids built remains. One of the few survivors is the Great Mosque of Samarra, which gives us a glimpse of what they were capable of. Baghdad and most of Iraq would go on to be conquered by the Ottomans and then colonized by the British Empire. The city was chosen to be the capital of the Republic of Iraq in 1958.
Okay.
Terrorism and a decade-long occupation by the United States military have destroyed much of the city. But today, in a recovering Baghdad, you can still walk down Mutanabi Street, a 1,000-year-old street dedicated to booksellers and readers, and take part in Baghdad's ancient obsession with sharing knowledge.
Interesting.
Sharing knowledge is so important that Cogito and a bunch of our creator friends got together and made Nebula, a streaming...
I am definitely looking forward to some more reactions from this content creator. If you have any more suggestions, drop them in the comments box down below. I enjoyed this reaction. I enjoyed this video. It was really good, really insightful. It's such a shame that there isn't as many wonders as there once was to see in Baghdad. I would definitely still like to go see it one day. It looks like it would be an absolutely beautiful experience. If you guys enjoyed this reaction and looking forward to my future reactions, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but I will catch you in the next reaction.